Good afternoon. Today is the of July, Monday. It's around 3:20 in the afternoon, and this is the Streets and Sidewalks Committee. To my right is Councilwoman Len Snee, and to my left is Councilman Brock Heath. I'm Bob Phillips, the chairman of the committee. We're here for three items relating to streets and sidewalks. And are we going to hear the first one about the Phase 9 sidewalk program?
Sure, we'll just take them in order.
Okay.
We are asking for a recommendation to council to authorize the bidding of the 2016 sidewalk repair program, which is Phase 9. They at a cost not to exceed $300,000, which is what is budgeted for this year. This is the process that we follow every year. We have done the first steps as required by the state law. We've notified the owners, given them the opportunity to do the work themselves. Vast majority of them have chosen to have us do the work for them, and then either pay us after the work is finished and we've invoiced them, or have it assessed over 5 years onto their property taxes. So we are asking at this point to go out to bid to get the best volume prices that we can. The project area is generally speaking within the downtown sections, blocks of the downtown, as well as a few blocks on the east side of town. We are not recommending emergency.
Okay. I notice in here that the city engineer has not included replacing handicap ramps at intersections within the area. Those will be billed or paid for out of community development.
That's
block
correct.
grant
That's
funds.
what we do every year. We do not assess that back to the property owners.
Right. And of the 121 parcels in Phase 9, the 92 that have not obtained permits, are we 100% contact response with all of those folks? Do you know?
No, I don't know that. I know that we do what we can to get the responses, and we do give them the deadline. I believe it was May 13th. That they could come in. They actually have to do a permit, so if they haven't applied for a permit, then we know they want to just go to us. But they've all gotten certified mail, so we know they all received notification.
Okay. And of the other balance of, I think it was 30 homes or something like that that have pulled permits
They've
or something?
pulled permits, and they've either done the work or they're going to be doing the work this summer.
Does this include any curbing?
I don't believe so, but it may. But I don't think we have much of that.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't have any other questions. Either one of you two?
Just a quick information question. If somebody decides to do the work themselves, do we give them the requirements? I mean, obviously it has to match the sidewalk work that's being done.
If they had applied for a permit, they would have gotten all the requirements at that time.
So they would get those. Okay. I was just curious. No other questions.
Code restrictions on it.
That was my exact question, whether they have to follow along with our restrictions or the flow of the entire system. Thank you.
Any other questions from anyone else on the item? Mrs. Baker, no? Okay. Mr. Mayor, no? Any other questions from staff? Okay. On this item, what is your pleasure for recommendation back to staff?
Yeah, move forward.
Move forward, okay. Unanimously agree to move forward on the item number 1 of the phase 9 of the sidewalk program.
Okay.
And move along to number 2.
The next one is with regards to an ODOT project that is primarily out in Concord Township, but there's a very small section of road work that will be done on Route 55 within the city of Troy. Back in April, Council authorized the consent legislation for a very small section of State Route 718. ODOT notified us that they're not doing that portion. Instead, they want to do 55, no cost to us. As is typical with ODOT, though, it does require emergency legislation. But again, there's no cost to us. It's just consent to allow them to do that.
And this is for fiscal year 17?
Yes.
That the project will be done.
That's correct.
Got it. Okay.
Which is the end believe it's the end of this summer to
July.
next summer is usually that fiscal year.
Got it. I don't have any questions on this item.
I'm just wondering what a micro-surface project is. So you're not,
It's a basic overlay project. They may do some grinding, but it's not
okay, so just like
it's
what we
not all the
would
way
think of
down
as
to the
repaving.
base. It's
Okay. Thank you.
Thin layer.
it's a type
asphalt.
of repaving that they do.
Thank you. That's all.
I have no questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mrs. Baker, do you have any questions? Ms. Rear, anybody else on the staff or the audience have any questions? Hearing none, what is your pleasure with this item?
Move forward.
Okay, it's the unanimous decision of the committee to move forward as proposed by staff and the recommendation with emergency legislation for the state project. Okay, item number 3.
Item number 3 is a request for recommendation to council to authorize us to submit an application to OPWC, that's the issue 2 money, to do Phase 4 of McCaig Road improvements. Right now, we are this year constructing Phase 3, which is on McCaig from Madison to the alley west of Lake beyond Haywood Schools. Next, and we are designing this year for the North Market Project Phase 2, which will then be budgeted and constructed next year in 2017. And so we're taking a year off from the McCaig Road to spread that out because we only get so much OPWC money. Next year, we would request that we do the design work for Phase 4, apply for this funding with the anticipation that we would then construct in 2018. Our preliminary estimates are that this project will be a $1.4 million project, and we would request the maximum amount from OPWC, which would be $600,000. We are asking for emergency legislation. We just, not too long ago, got our engineers' estimates from our consultants and from the engineering staff. The application deadline is the end of July, so time is of the essence.
With the $1.415 million price tag, even with the $600,000 from OPWC, this puts us slightly over our road budget allotment each year, doesn't it, for that $600,000?
Yes, we don't earmark the permissive tax money for this. That is earmarked for our general road repaving program. The difference here would be paid for out of either Fund 441 capital improvement or water, sewer, stormwater, those funds, whichever are appropriate to assign them to.
Depending on where the bid comes in.
Where the bid comes
commensurate
in
over
and
that.
what the estimated cost for that particular portion of the project.
So that total tentatively is just a touch over $200,000 that would come out of the other funds.
Where do you get that number?
600,000 from OPWC, 600,000 from our road projects, and
No, the $600,000 for our road projects, that we have typically earmarked those
Yes.
to our general program, where we'll do X number of lane miles from 10 to 15 streets. We continue to do that, which we've always done. This would be an earmarked capital project that would have a portion, let's say 600,000 comes from the state issue 2.
Right.
Some portion, whatever that legitimate portion is, estimated that our water improvements would come out of the water fund. So I'm not saying that's 200,000
Right.
versus something else. It could be very little Fund 441 money as opposed to the utility money. It just depends on how those bids come out
Right.
and what our estimates are.
okay, gotcha. I was forgetting about the capital improvement project funds. Okay, got it. Any other questions?
Is this the last portion of McCaig that we're anticipating?
Not necessarily the last one, but our anticipation is that after we do this one, we do need to look at Riverside Road with some widening and some improvements from Staunton out to the corporate limits.
Okay.
And so we anticipate that'll be a multi-phased project. and so we may need to shift a little bit. So if you go from McCaig west of I-75, we are doing with the partner project with the county to repave that road. So we're more confident that that road is in better shape. It's not as wide as we'd like it to be yet. Doesn't have some of the complete streets, alternative transportation on it yet, but with limited resources, we need to shift our priorities, at least in the short term.
All right.
I was actually taking all my questions today, but yes, to follow up with that, what's the timeline on the west of 75 over there? Is it-
I don't think we have one at this point yet.
Okay, I just continue to hear about how rough it is, and I know that we're looking to move it up
Right.
with the county. And
But don't forget that there are sections that come in and out and in and out and in and out of the
Right.
city
Right.
throughout that whole area once you get west of 75. So we were lucky to partner with the county on the simple repaving project. But once we get into the larger, perhaps widening, new curbing, sidewalks, you get into much more comprehensive challenges with property owners, right-of-way acquisition, county budgets, as well as our budget.
Perfect, thank you.
While we're touching on that, but the county partnership project, we are looking at having that done this year.
This year, that's right.
Any other questions from Ms. Baker? Anybody else in the audience? What is your pleasure with this?
This one is emergency.
Okay. So it's unanimous of the committee to proceed as staff has recommended here with the emergency legislation, et cetera. Any other items to come before the Streets and Sidewalks Committee?
No, sir.
Then we are adjourned for this afternoon.